Hi, my name is Holly Mason. I am a clinical psychologist, and today I'm going to take you through a lecture surrounding stress and chronic stress. Okay, so a basic overview of today's presentation. Firstly, we'll define stress. We'll then go on to define chronic stress. We'll then discuss the biology of stress and chronic stress with an explanation of the primitive response. We'll then focus on cortisol, the stress hormone. We'll then look at impairments associated with stress and chronic stress. I'll then list some recommended ways to reduce stress, and then we'll have an overview of a stress article discussing the association of stress and athletic performance. So when we look at a basic definition or a basic overview of what stress actually means, we can say that stress can be defined as any type of change that causes physical, emotional, or psychological strain or tension. So stress is actually the body's natural response to anything that requires attention or action. And with this, every conscious being does have to experience stress to some degree. The different factor is, however, how this stress is responded to. And this factor does have the potential to alter overall well-being, which is why the majority of us think about stress in a negative way. On top of stress, we also have chronic stress. So what is chronic stress? Let's define it. Chronic stress is a constant state of feeling pressured over a prolonged period of time. So chronic stress occurs when the body is experiencing stresses with such frequency or intensity that the automatic nervous system is unable to activate the relaxation response. So experiencing stresses, what this means is that you're experiencing stimuli within your environment that's causing stress within the system. So a stressor could be something like an issue in work, the death of a loved one. Could even be a positive. It could be getting married. And this stress is a frequent level of stress, and it's affecting the body in a way that is actually having a negative effect on the nervous system. So the system is unable to activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the relaxation response, and this occurs on a regular basis. So this is why chronic stress differs to just stress. This is something that is there at all times. So to really delve into what stress and chronic stress is, it's so important to understand the biology of it. So what happens to the body when we are stressed? When a stressor is experienced, the stress response system is activated. This is also known as the primitive response or fight or flight. And as a result of this activation, the two main stress hormones, cortisol and adrenaline, are released. So these hormones are released to protect the body, to put the body into a fight mode, to protect its system. This stress response system in biological terms can also be known as the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, or the HPA axis in short. So what happens is, after experiencing a stressor, such as mentioned earlier, an issue in work, the hypothalamus region of the brain sends a chemical message to the pituitary gland, and the adrenal glands then produce cortisol and adrenaline, as well as sending blood and oxygen to important organs and muscles throughout the body. So, back in the day, years and years ago when we were cavemen, we needed this. We needed to be able to run away from a threat. So these hormones were a way of getting us out. However, now, within today's era, we find the body is actually overflooding itself at times when a stressor is experienced. Okay, so it doesn't all have to be so bad when we look at cortisol and stress. And that's why I've highlighted a slide and dedicated it to cortisol specifically. So cortisol is the main stress hormone. And although we do have negative connotations around this word, it actually does play an important role in many basal bodily functions. So what this means is that for a large proportion of our base or fundamental functions throughout the body, we actually need cortisol. So an example of this, sending blood glucose to the brain, we need cortisol to be able to do this. So with this, each and every human does actually in fact require a steady stream of cortisol in the blood. And when functioning optimally, cortisol is secreted at a universal rhythm known as the circadian rhythm. So I just want to explain the circadian rhythm of cortisol because I think it's really interesting. And once you understand it, you can actually notice it within yourself. So of a morning, your cortisol levels peak. They peak to the highest level possible throughout the whole day. During the course of the day, these cortisol levels decline slowly to their maximum low. So they don't decline completely, it's just to their maximum low. Then early nighttime, cortisol levels rise again to prepare the body for its morning peak. So this is why energy levels are actually experienced of a higher level in the morning, and why many people do notice that in the afternoon, after 12 o'clock onwards, things start to slow down. So that's the positive side of cortisol, the necessary side of it. However, of course, when experienced in floods, stress can in fact have a major impact on mental and physical performance. And this impact can be experienced in a multitude of ways. So, some of the symptoms induced by stress and chronic stress I will now list on the next slide. So this will then go into the negative impact of cortisol. As you can see in this slide, there are a wealth of impairments and adverse health outcomes that are associated with the overproduction of cortisol or stress and chronic stress. But I will delve into a few of them. So in terms of physical and psychological symptoms, I've separated the two. So let's look at physical symptoms first. The physical symptoms listed here include weakened immune system, high blood pressure, increased heart rate, heartburn, low energy, headaches, muscle tension, fertility issues, weight loss and weight gain. Psychological symptoms include depression, insomnia, irritability, low sex drive, appetite changes, changes to social behaviour. So what this means is you may find that you either seclude yourself and become a bit of a recluse, you don't want to go out, or you go out more, you're going out more frequently to try and escape the feeling. A lack of clarity or trouble focusing, altered emotional response. So, not being able to respond emotionally in the way that you usually would. An increased desire to drink alcohol, an increased desire to take drugs, or an increased desire to take part in any behaviour that is allowing you to escape the feeling of being stressed. Okay, so now that we've looked at the biology and the impairments, let's look at some recommended ways to reduce stress hormones. So, my main recommended tips to reduce stress or to de-stress include exercise. Now, exercise is so important for everybody for a multitude of reasons, but in terms of stress, when exercising, we release endorphins. And these endorphins are hormones that are known to suppress stress hormones. So exercise is, I'd say, number one. It's key in terms of keeping your stress levels at bay. My second tip, breath work. Now, breathwork techniques have been found to activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the relaxing side of the automatic nervous system. So, focusing on the breath, making sure that you're breathing and you're aware of your breath. So, breathing in and out consciously. This can actually settle the body. And then maintaining a healthy diet and decreasing sugar levels to prevent a spike in blood sugar is imperative for a healthy life anyway. But in terms of stress, so sugar spikes are linked to low mood, and low mood, of course, increases stress levels. So preventing a sugar spike by watching what you eat, maintaining that healthy diet, and taking control of yourself, focusing on all of these things that you're doing in your life, making sure you're being conscious of everything, are so important. These will allow you to take control of your stress. And to finish, I'm just going to touch on an article linking stress and athletic performance, published by the Michelli Centre in 2016. So stress and athletic performance and the link between the two. So in the article, Roger Coven explains how one of the most common physical symptoms of stress is in fact increased muscle tension, which can interfere with motor functions. So this in turn actually puts any athlete in a higher risk bracket of injury. These injuries are like small muscular tears and more. And then, of course, if you do have an injury and you're then not able to train or perform, that can, again, exacerbate the stress. So you are injured through stress and muscle tension, and then your stress is exacerbated through a lack of training. So it's like a cycle. So the importance here, I'd say, to round the article and all of this information up in terms of the positives of cortisol and the negatives of the overproduction, I think it's safe to say that the importance lies with finding that perfect equilibrium, the balance of having a functioning circadian rhythm to conduct all basal functions without flooding the system to the point of experiencing adverse health effects and potential issues within life, mindset, and even training and performance. If anyone wants to have a little look at the article published by the Michelli Centre, I have linked it on the last slide. Thank you.